What's up, Taiwan? I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Time is running out on a 90-day pause in steep US tariffs. And here in Taiwan, lawmakers are urging the government to make every day count. Joyce Zhang reports.
Under the shadow of paused U.S. tariffs that stand to upend the global economy, lawmakers grill Premier Zhou Rongtai on Taiwan's progress in safeguarding the country's interests, despite limited choice for friends in a world mired by a U.S.-China trade war.
我们跟世界的民主友盟国家一直保持互相信任可赖的关系，
但是现在川普的重拳，他是不管民不民主啦。 现在的问题就在于，已经不是价值的问题，而是价格的问题。
Zhou is defending his cabinet's updated proposal for a special fund of $12.6 billion US, which he says is needed to protect the economy and national security. It's a sum almost 5 times more than the originally proposed aid package for local industries to help weather potential blows from U.S. tariffs. In the new package, $2.9 billion would go towards tariff relief, $4.6 billion for security-related spending, which the cabinet says would include strengthening the Coast Guard and developing drone infrastructure. Over $5 billion is earmarked for societal support, more than half of which set to go to state-run power utility Taipower to help address its multi-billion-dollar losses in recent years. Opposition lawmakers are slamming the plan, saying it strays away from the original purpose of the special budget, mitigating the risk of U.S. tariffs.
到底是经济还是国土安全？
都一样，在这个范围里面。
事实上，这样的态度根本就是要向人民开空头支票、空白支票了，理由根本不清不楚。
With just days until a cross-party delegation is set to land in Washington for talks with U.S. counterparts, stakes are high for Taiwan's officials to get on the same page despite different opinions on how best to safeguard the country's interests. Ryan Wu and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Another group of local leaders from the opposition Kuomintang have been detained over suspected fraud in recall campaigns. It's the latest in a mass movement to unseat lawmakers from both the KMT and the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, an issue dividing the country. Cadence Caranta reports.
Prosecutors carry out raids at several locations, including the opposition Kuomintang office in Yilan in eastern Taiwan, as multiple current and former officials from the party are detained, suspected of forging signatures on recall petitions. It's just the latest investigation into alleged misconduct amid Taiwan's mass recall movement. The campaigns could upend the legislature, as civic groups, increasingly backed by political parties, scramble to oust dozens of lawmakers from both the KMT and the ruling Democratic Progressive Party. This time, prosecutors are focused on a petition drive to recall Democratic Progressive Party lawmaker Chen Junyu. KMT members have repeatedly criticized investigations into recall fraud, saying they're being used to silence opposition voices.
我们是不是合理的怀疑，执政党利用检调单位来恐吓人民，让反对民进党的这些想去联署的人不敢再去签联署。
But as allegations of fraud pile up, DPP legislator Chen Junyu has hit back. In a written statement, he accused the KMT of trampling on Taiwan's democratic system. The KMT is planning to hold a rally in Taipei on Saturday to protest the investigations. It comes after another rally last week, where large crowds of people turned out to sign petitions to recall KMT officials. As each side continues to fire shots and more campaigns come under investigation, Taiwan faces growing political tensions and a divide that may be increasingly difficult to bridge. Alex Chen and Cadence Caranta for TaiwanPlus.
Over 600 Chinese nationals are suspected of illegally entering Taiwan under false pretenses with the help of a dental clinic. Prosecutors say the Taipei clinic worked with 2 travel agencies, creating false treatment plans to help Chinese nationals enter Taiwan. Once in the country, they took illegal jobs. A special task force is investigating those involved. The clinic's head denies all wrongdoing and was released on bail. The health ministry says there are at least 2 other medical institutions under investigation. China says its Coast Guard has taken control of a disputed reef in the South China Sea. State media published a photo of officials holding a Chinese flag on Sandy Key, a small uninhabited sandbank. According to the report, the Coast Guard claimed the reef in mid-April. Sandy Key sits near the northern edge of the Tizard Bank in the Spratly Islands, an area claimed by both China and the Philippines. Tensions between the 2 countries have been rising, with China stepping up its presence across the region. It comes as China's Shandong aircraft carrier was spotted near the Philippines just days before the start of US-Philippine military drills known as Balikatan. Taiwan's defense ministry says there is no date set for the next phase of tests for its domestically made submarine. Initial reports had suggested that sea trials for the vessel could start in mid-April. But just how important are submarines for Taiwan's defense? Well, we dive deeper with Jaime Ocon, who spoke with Tom Shugart from the Center for a New American Security.
So we still haven't seen sea trials for these domestically made submarines. I want to first ask you, how important is this kind of capability given Taiwan's situation?
I think that this is a relatively sensible way for Taiwan to spend some of its defense dollars, in the sense that submarines, as long as they can get underway and get out to sea at the beginning of a crisis, they are a survivable platform in a way that a lot of other things that are on Taiwan are not survivable, given the scale of the threat from the PLA strike forces. If those submarines are at sea and they can hide, they can if they need to rearm and refuel, they can do it in other places. They're certainly far more survivable than air bases or surface ships that are going to be very vulnerable to destruction, given the scale of the threat from the PLA, and in particular the PLA rocket force.
Now, let's say that Taiwan does manage to produce 8 submarines and have them in the Navy. What kind of operations or missions would they be conducting?
So if you look at the different mission sets that submarines can diesel submarines like that can engage on, the ones that are the most important are probably anti-surface warfare, so sinking surface ships. Also ISR, so intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The ability to be able to observe what somebody else is doing without them necessarily knowing that somebody's observing them. That's a submarine mission that's been going on since. So, and certainly when we look at the idea of a Chinese blockade of Taiwan, so something where Chinese surface ships and submarines are off of Taiwan's ports, preventing access for resupply. Submarines are the perfect system to go out there and literally break some of those ships in half. And add a lot more risk to what's involved with attempting to isolate Taiwan by blocking its ports.
These systems are extremely expensive and quite a big investment. Is there anything else from the naval side that Taiwan should be investing in?
The kind of things that I have recommended in testimony before to the U.S. Senate and to the U.S. China Commission are that I think Taiwan should be investing in systems that are survivable, that are distributed on a day-to-day basis, that don't require fixed facilities to operate on a sustained basis, and they're going to survive day one of a war. Submarines are and also that are going to be good, that'll be useful for trying to stop an invasion. So anti-surface capabilities. I think the submarines that they're looking at meet all 4 of those requirements. There are other things I would also be working on. I'd be working on smart mines, and I would have them deployed now in peacetime, because one thing I think people should understand, like I understand Taiwan's investing in mine-laying ships and whatnot. If China has made the decision to invade Taiwan, they're not going to watch Taiwan lay the minefields to stop them. I think it's very unlikely. So minefields are great, but lay them now. Lots of coastal defense cruise missiles, like the Harpoon missiles they're buying from the United States. That's great. They're on trucks. They're distributed. They're dispersed. They should be relatively survivable. Those are the kinds of things I would be investing more of.
That was Tom Shugart from the Center for a New American Security. US President Donald Trump is urging Russian President Vladimir Putin to stop bombing Ukraine. Trump posted the message on his Truth Social platform after the deadliest attack on Kyiv since July. That strike killed at least 12 people and injured around 90 others. Trump also criticized Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, accusing him of dragging out the war by refusing to give up Crimea, a region Russia illegally annexed back in 2014. Relations between India and Pakistan are deteriorating rapidly following the killing of tourists in Kashmir. The murders and subsequent diplomatic responses are fueling protests across the region. Reef reports.
From burning Pakistani flags in India to calls for peace in Kashmir, and demands for water access in Pakistan. Protests are erupting across South Asia as the already fraught India-Pakistan relationship takes a sharp decline. On April 22nd, 26 tourists were killed in Kashmir, a disputed region administered by India. Those who escaped with their lives tell of targeted attacks.
We have finally breathed a sigh of relief now that we have reached the airport. The militants were marking out Hindus and killing them there.
New Delhi says they've already identified several of the gunmen involved and that a Pakistani rebel group was behind the massacre.
We will pursue them to the ends of the earth.
Pakistan denies playing any role in the attack. The murders have sparked a rapid tit-for-tat escalation in diplomatic responses, with India closing borders and cancelling visas, and suspending a decades-old water-sharing agreement between the two countries. India says it's prepared to go further.
This is just the first step. These are the non-kinetic first steps that the government has taken to change the rules of engagement with Pakistan that is no longer business as usual.
Pakistan has warned any attempts to restrict access to water would amount to an act of war.
India is fighting a low-intensity war against us, and if they want to scale up the tensions, we will be ready. No one should have any doubts.
In response, Pakistan is closing airspace to Indian airliners and has suspended the peace agreement that effectively set its de facto borders with India. Both countries claim much of Kashmir, and disagreements over who should control the region date back almost a century. The most recent escalation has the UN calling for calm.
We very much appeal to both the governments of Pakistan and the government of India to exercise maximum restraint and to ensure that the situation and the developments we've seen do not deteriorate any further.
Conflicts in the area have a history of getting violent, and analysts and diplomats are warning if things continue to deteriorate, the entire region could again be plunged into crisis. Kama Shu, Adil Bra and Reef for TaiwanPlus.
An asteroid has been named after acclaimed Taiwanese artist and 228 incident victim Chen Chengbo.
陈先生，陈博士，我们第一个提出来的呀。当然，因为它属于我们的台湾那个近代油画里头一个很先驱者呀，就做很多贡献。
The asteroid was first discovered in 2007 by two astronomers at Taiwan's National Central University and the US's University of Maryland. They chose to name it after Chen Chengbo in honor of his artistic achievements. Chen was executed for his involvement in an anti-government uprising in Taiwan in 1947. The International Astronomical Union finally approved the name this January. An exhibition about the asteroid has been set up at the National Taiwan Museum, running until May 11th. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, here's a portrait of Pope Francis made out of grains ahead of his funeral on Saturday. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan, around the world, and Washington, D.C., please download the TaiwanPlus app and follow us on social media.